Right. Hello, my name is Paul Bierman. I'm the Director of Education and Events for MBNA. Welcome to today's webinar, How to Hold Virtual Design Meetings with Clients. Thank you to the MBNA Education Committee for their work in putting this webinar together. As an MBNA provided webinar, this webinar does offer education credit for the Certified Memorialist Program. Your attendance is recorded and you'll be able to claim your credit when applying to become a CM or to maintain your certification. Before we begin, I have a few pieces of information for you. First of all, we will take questions throughout the presentation. Please type any questions you may have into the Q&A box, and Matthew will pause periodically to answer those and solicit more questions. When the webinar ends today, you will be prompted to complete a short survey. Please take a moment to complete that survey, as your feedback is greatly appreciated as we plan future MBNA webinars. This webinar is being recorded and will be available free of charge to MBNA members via the MBNA website. I can now turn things over to today's speaker, Matthew Adams of Quincy Memorials. Matthew Andrews, sorry.
Thank you very much, Paul. Yes, I am Matthew Andrews with Quincy Memorials out in Massachusetts. I work with Brian Poirier, whom I'm sure some of you know, and I've been here for about 4 years now. I came in January of 2020, a very interesting time to enter this industry. So yeah, it was quite beneficial that we had kind of prepared our company to enter the 21st century before COVID happened. We prepared ourselves in a number of ways by learning how to do remote consultations through Google Meet. And we had prepared a catalog of photos with some tags or characteristics that enabled us to search them quickly and easily. I'll show you what that looks like, and give you a little more overview about my thoughts on virtual consultations. Please keep in mind that I have found a style that works for me. There's going to be, probably 100 differences in how you approach a consultation, how you approach a memorialization, how you work with your clients, depending on your specific experience, your needs, demographic, all of that good stuff. The goal, though, is just to give all of us a look at how a virtual consultation can be conducted. And for me, the most important tool is the pictures that we have organized and tagged according to certain criteria. It has been just so beneficial for helping clients who are out of state, who are unable to come into the office for whatever reason, whether a medical issue or during COVID, because we were basically locked down. One thing that is always good to do, and it happened to me today when I was joining, is make sure that your Zoom or Google Meet is ready to go. Oftentimes when you open Zoom, it has an update that you'll need to install or perform before you can even get into a meeting. So make sure you give yourself plenty of time. Personally and professionally, we prefer Google Meet. It's part of our Google Suite platform. We think it's easy to use. You can simply send a link to a client and they can open it up in their web browser on their computer. It doesn't require any software to be installed. So no updating. Usually, I like to establish priorities with the client. Most often, virtual consultations are a first introduction to a client face-to-face. And so I do my best to establish what their goal is. Sometimes people just want to talk and reminisce and think about their loved one, as you all well know. Sometimes they want to get right to it. They have an idea of what they want, and that can help with the remote consultation because it allows you to search the pictures and how they're categorized according to different specifications and design elements. One thing that I make sure I do is I send them a Google Calendar invitation with the Google Meet in the calendar to their email so that they can receive that. They can hit yes, so you know they're going to be there. Oftentimes people will have technical difficulties for whatever reason. So I usually follow up with a phone call, 3, 4 minutes into the appointment if they're not already on the appointment. Um, I'll show you our memorial examples real quick. These are just examples of memorials that we show clients periodically, many of which we have produced ourselves. And I'm going to draw your attention to just the organization. We have them categorized. Each of these folders has many, many things to offer. And this Excel file here tells me which criteria I can search. So we have angel shaped, we have boulders,
Hey,
we have,
Matthew,
yes.
you're not sharing with us right now.
Oh, sorry about that. So I'll share my screen and I'll show you the wonderful categorization that we've done here. So we have memorials categorized by color, by type, by shape, ethnicity, all kinds of design elements, sometimes font attributes, many, many things that you can search. And I'll show you how we use it. So up here in the top right, let's say the client has already said they want a black memorial. I can just simply search the word black. I usually will organize my screen as an icon so that I can see a good little thumbnail. And then if the client says, oh, I really like the look of that angel on the Bella Memorial, you can just pop it right up. You can inspect it with the client. You can discuss different aspects of the memorial and hopefully help move the consultation along. Each of these files has the ability to contain many keywords. So this one has custom, porcelain, epitaph, roses, angel, sculpture, and you can search more than one keyword at once. So I can search a black porcelain and it'll show me all results with both of those tags. I find it extremely useful when you're really honing in on what the client would like for their memorial. Any questions before we begin? I just want to, see if anybody has anything pressing right now. And me and my client will get started. Okay. Once you've initialized the meeting, you're just waiting for your client to show up. In this case, Melanie has arrived and we'll consider this our first consultation. So I'll introduce myself, all of the usual formalities, and then we'll get right into hopefully establishing a priority for the meeting. Sometimes, again, as you well know, people have been thinking about this for months or years. And when you're finally with them, I think it's important to just ask them, what what do you hope to see today? What do you hope to accomplish? Those questions will take various forms because you'll also listen. That's one thing I'm sure all of us have learned as one of the most important things when you're consulting with a family is to listen, because most of the time they'll tell you about their loved one, maybe their hobbies, their interests, some other things about them that may be important in the memorialization process. I'm going to go ahead and start the meeting and just type in your questions. We'll break every 5 or 10 minutes to answer any timely questions. So, Melanie, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so sorry about the loss of your grandmother. I hope that we can view some examples of memorials that you think that you and your family would be able to draw aspects of for the memorial. Maybe we can look at some colors, some design elements, maybe some different fonts or other enhancements, depending on what you think is appropriate. So thank you
Okay.
for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Sometimes, we had the advantage of actually discussing the memorialization with our loved one. When my dad passed, he was buried at a military cemetery, so you got no options. It was just, this is it. So I haven't had to go through this. Hopefully you haven't had to go through this process before either. So I'll do my best to kind of lead you through everything that can be involved in creating a memorial for your loved one.
Okay.
Um, Sometimes there are memorials in the cemetery for our family that help us get started. So you might be familiar with the gray color. You know, gray granite is something that we're all used to seeing. It usually fits in with most cemeteries. Sometimes we know we want a beautiful black memorial because we want it to stand out. Um, I'd like to open the floor to you, to see if you and your family have already thought about what type of memorial would be uh, would be perfect for your grandmother.
Um, so I think that we like the darker gray. We've seen some lighter gray ones and some darker ones that aren't quite black. Um, so I know we definitely want to do something that's a little bit of a darker color, but not fully black.
Okay.
Um, and then I think outside we did see a monument in your display that had a cross on the left with some ivy that went across it. So I liked that. And was thinking that maybe I would do something like that on the side.
Okay. Well, I'll begin by showing you some black or darker colored memorials. We've got a
Okay.
few different shades of black that might work for you. And we can also look at crosses and some flowers and things like that to help us with
Okay.
our decision.
Okay.
My goal today is to be able to provide you and your family with half a dozen or so photos that, will help get you to a final design for your memorial. So right now I'm just going to browse through our selections and show you some black memorials that we have
Mm-hmm.
produced that have a cross on them.
Mm-hmm.
So this one, is somewhat similar to what you described.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
with the roses. Yeah.
it might be a little taller than the one that you saw outside, but whatever you think is appropriate is obviously the best thing.
Okay.
Uh, I wasn't able to confirm the size and type with the cemetery before our meeting,
Yeah.
but usually for a double grave, which this is for, the memorial size would be 3 feet by 3 feet.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to show you a variety of sizes if they have an aspect that I think is important, but I want to make sure we keep in mind, the overall size and appearance.
Okay.
Um, this one is a little bit of a different color.
Yeah.
So we have on the left a solid black that's polished on all sides,
Mm-hmm.
which many people love. And then on the right, we have a color or a type of granite called Impala.
Mm-hmm.
It's still very beautiful. You can see this one's rough though. So that is one difference between these two. And sometimes one feels more appropriate than the other.
Yeah. I
One
think
other
I like
thing,
the one on the right.
okay. One other thing I'd like to point out is, it shows how a nickname could be added to your memorial. Um, I think that, oftentimes a nickname makes it a little more personal.
Mhm.
The memorial is well, it's mostly for the living, but it helps us connect with the person that we're visiting with and have lost. So,
Yeah.
did she have a nickname that, was special
Yeah,
to you?
she did. Which that just kind of put in my head. I was torn between the maiden name now that we mentioned a nickname. Because I was going to put her maiden name on there, but I don't know if that's going to be too much to include
Sure.
that and a nickname. But so her name was Dorothy, and she went by Dot usually.
Okay.
So most people called her Dot. So I guess I could go either way
Sure.
with the maiden name or the nickname or both if it doesn't look like too much.
Right. Well, one good thing is once you and I kind of agree on most or all of the specifications, and we have a pretty good idea of the content we want, we'll draw up the agreement, we'll take a payment, and then we'll proceed to drafting.
Okay.
And we do the draft. I'll show you an example here in a little bit. We'll show you exactly how everything's going to be laid out to scale so you can see if it's going to be too crowded.
Right.
Uh,
Okay.
I tend to show people everything they think they might want
Mhm.
just so that we can get a sense of whether it's too crowded or not, because we
Mhm.
usually have a pretty strong initial reaction.
Okay.
And what I'll do is I'll keep this picture open,
Okay.
while we continue to browse so that we can refer back to it. And maybe I'll email it to you so you can show it to your family as well.
Okay.
And this one, interestingly, right next to it is also the same type of granite. This one, though, shows a little bit of a different shape. It has a
Yeah.
flat top on it, which, is kind of just a design element. Most cemeteries will allow that. And this one may have the names on the back. I'm not familiar with this memorial specifically, but that is
Yeah.
something that some people like to do as well.
Okay.
Now, what I'm going to also do is, while I'm browsing, is hopefully show you some other characteristics,
Yeah.
just to make sure we've thought about most of the elements that are going to go into the memorial. As I'm going, please let me know if I'm going too fast so that I can, show you any designs that you think you may like.
Okay.
And just to show you, we can do stylistic and custom things like this.
Yeah.
It shows a faux brick or castle type situation on the left here.
Yeah.
And this one does show a maiden name as well. So you can
Yeah.
see Mel Le Breton. So, depending on how the layout falls, we would want the nickname, either before or after the maiden name.
Right.
Uh, Oftentimes the maiden name might be important to a couple family members.
Right.
That'd be for you and your family to think about as well. This one here shows one thing that's a little different. The contrast on the photo isn't the best, but it shows that you can do the family name and the name in a panel.
Okay.
Some people think this is easier to read, but it can be done either way.
Okay. Can you put anything in the lettering if you're doing it on polish without the panel that might help the lettering stand out more?
Yes, sometimes we'll add a little paint or do a
Okay.
little whitening or lightening. It's not necessary though.
Okay.
Most of the black dark granites, like you see in this picture here,
Hmm.
the engraving shows up very legible,
Okay.
just by virtue of removing the polish and cutting
Okay.
into the stone.
Okay.
We'll break for a second. Anybody have any questions? I can't really tell when I'm sharing. Oh, here we go. We have one here. Yes, we take pictures of every completed rail. We've established exactly what we want. We take them all in photo mode using an iPhone so that we can kind of blur out the background. Standing in the photo, I'm sure we've all seen that, right? And do we take them on an iPhone? Yep. And the only tip I can give you definitively is we have a drop cloth or the black background that you can actually put behind you to block out the sun. It's hard to do that when you're by yourself. So we don't always use that when we're taking pictures. And usually our setter is by themselves as well. So the biggest tip is getting the angle right, based on where the sun is and what's going to be seen in the reflection of the memorial. Do we create our own Excel spreadsheet, connect to each picture? So I'm not sure exactly what you mean, Kathy. Are you able to expound on that? And you can unmute yourself if you want. But just for reference, that Excel sheet I showed you, we just wrote down all of the different tags that we have used for our pictures. So I don't know if that answers your question. They're not connected directly to that
Yes,
Excel spreadsheet.
question.
Okay. So if there's no other questions, we'll keep going. Obviously we've all done this type of consultation. So some of the things that I might bring up, you may or may not agree with, but that's okay. The goal is to, you know, hopefully in 20 or 30 minutes, have 6 to 10 photos that will help the client and their families decide ultimately what the memorial is going to be. Looks like we got one more question. Can you show how to tag a picture? So I did not tag these pictures, but I think you just go to info and enter the keywords right there. I can make sure that I find out exactly how to tag pictures, because I agree that if this is something you might want to do for your business, you might want to get started immediately. So Paul, hopefully we can maybe upload a little supplement with this. I don't know if there's a text document that can go with it as well.
I think it says
Yeah.
at the top there that text box add tags,
There you
where
go.
you would type it in.
I just haven't done it, so I don't want to tell you the wrong thing right now.
But
I'll
yes,
try.
we can absolutely send a follow-up following
Okay,
the webinar with any of that kind of information.
very good. I don't see anything else from my outline that I should bring up right now. So it looks like we have one more. You mentioned you will do a design for the customer if you have a signed order. This is only the case of online or in office. So you obviously may conduct your memorial business, you know, a certain way. We do both. We have the ability to do some in-person, on-demand drafting. Melanie happens to be one of our drafters, so I'm sure when she's in a consultation, if she thinks it's useful, she'll do that. But we don't have someone in each office yet who is trained to do drafting in person. One of our offices, though, they do that all the time. They think it helps them show the families something to take home with them and gives them the best chance to, you know, close the memorial right then and there. And it's one of my goals in 2025 to have someone on staff in each office who can do on-demand drafting. Because yes, I think that it does help in many instances. All right, so we're gonna head back in for a minute. So Melanie, um, you know, we've seen a couple things that you know, may help us. Um, have we seen one that looks like the memorial you saw outside yet? Was it kind of like this one, more pushed up in the corner?
It was actually more like the one with the cross and the rose that we kind of looked at first.
Okay,
Kind of on the side, like at the whole length of the
okay.
monument.
Well, I just wanted to point out one, you know, that has it in the corner.
Mhm.
One advantage to this, especially for us, since we're thinking of doing a little bit more text than usual, is it gives us more room, you know, on the
Yeah,
upper part of the memorial.
yeah.
Now, is a porcelain something that you and your family have thought about? You know, oftentimes people will put a likeness of their loved one on the memorial in full color.
Um, we didn't really talk about it, but I'm kind of leaning towards no.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
think
it's
I just like
definitely
the lettering.
not for all of us. Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, and sometimes you can go kind of big with the design, you
yeah,
know, you can have the whole face be one big design. This one, they probably have the names on the back. Sometimes, though, people use flush markers to mark out independent graves at
yeah.
the family site. I think ours is just a two grave lot, so, you know, both names should be able to go comfortably on the memorial.
Mhm.
Some of the other, you know, options and things that you can consider is maybe a polished raised family name. Um, you know, you haven't really expressed any interest, but I just want to make sure that, you know, before we agree on something, that you've seen as many of the different types of things that can be done. You know, I would hate for us to figure everything out and then see something else that we, you know, we decided was really important to us.
I
And
think
on
I
this,
like on this one that it says loving husband and dad above the person's name, because if this is going to be for two people,
Mhm.
maybe maybe they can each have their own epitaph instead of one at the bottom. But now I'm
Yep.
adding even more lettering.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's exactly another thing I was going to point out about this is, many people do want a tribute or an epitaph for their loved one. It's funny you say above because one of my coworkers, she always likes the epitaph below the name because she always wants the name to be most prominent, then the dates, then the tribute.
Yeah,
But above the name is certainly appropriate, especially if it feels right to you and your family.
yeah.
I'll keep this picture open.
Okay.
Hopefully, when we're done, we have a couple pictures that you can share with your family. I know I say that over and over, but I just want to make sure, we're kind of on the same page with what we're doing and you're feeling like you're seeing enough variety.
Hmm.
One thing that can come up is, having vases. So you can see in this one that the family, was okay, that the vases cut in just a little bit.
Oh yeah,
It's just one of those details that we show on the draft that we produce for you
yeah,
because you'd hate to have something important, have a vase in front of it or something like that. I
right.
don't know if vases are something you and your family have thought of.
No, probably not.
Okay.
Oh, like that
And I
Falvey
think
one
this is the
there.
type of,
Yeah, that
yeah,
it
I
was
think
that
that's the type
design.
that you were referring.
Yeah,
Yeah. And you can see on this one, it does have the rough top and
yep.
sides. Some people just really love the look. Um, the one advantage to this particular type of granite is you can have it polished or unpolished for the same cost. So if
Okay,
that comes up in discussions, it can be done either way.
okay.
Uh, One thing we haven't talked about is something called an etching.
Mhm.
And on this one here, they went for the whole face of the memorial. A custom etching, maybe of their particular boat,
Yep.
or something like that. Um, I don't know if it's something you and your family have thought about, but it's a little more modern.
Okay. Yeah. I do like the cross and the rose on the Gallagher one too. Just a different
Oh,
kind
sure.
of style.
And sometimes I like to include some symbolism. So
Mhm.
we might include a number of roses equal to children or grandchildren, or something like that.
Okay.
Then when we
Yeah.
visit the memorial, we have a little bit more of a personal connection.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll take a break for a minute. I do see we have one question. Here's a tutorial on how to tag photos in Windows. It's very similar to Mac. Well, thank you very much. I thought it was a question. Do we have any other questions though? Since we're breaking for a minute. I know, and I'm fully confident that everybody here understands all of the different specifications, type, size, color, finish, all of that. Sometimes when I'm in the middle of a consultation though, I'll forget to even mention, you know, have you ever thought about a bench? Most people will say no, don't want a bench. Every once in a while somebody will say, well, I had never thought of it, but it actually looks pretty cool. So those are the types of things I'm trying not to belabor in this presentation because, you all will have your own way of qualifying exactly what the client wants, what's going to be and feel perfect for the memorialization of their loved one. All right, we'll get back into it. Um, Melanie, one thing we haven't really talked about, is the shape of the memorial.
Hmm.
Sometimes giving it just a little extra hump on the top middle can be nice, especially for a design element.
Hmm.
Uh, but most of the memorials just have a standard little little serp. It's called a serpentine top to it.
Okay.
But just wanted to make sure if you were thinking, you know, I do want it to stand out a little more. That's something that can easily be done.
Okay.
Were there any other design elements that you had thought of? Anything particularly important to your grandmother? Was there a particular flower that she loved?
I don't know. Um, I might I could ask my mom, but the other thing that I think that I wanted to include, if I was gonna put a saying for her, that I would wanna put, like, a heart at the end of it, like a
Okay.
small heart, so, it doesn't have to be super decorative, but, just because I originally, before I saw the one where they had it above the name, I was gonna put loving wife, mother, and grandmother, and then a heart at the end, or even underneath maybe.
Now, will there be another name added to this memorial later, or will this memorial be solely for your grandmother?
Just one other name needs to go on it.
Okay. Something we should probably think about is if they would need any other design elements as well, whether
Yeah,
it's
that's true.
something religious or something with their vocation or a hobby that was particularly important to them. Uh,
Yeah.
on the back of a memorial, I just put, here, I'll show it to you because this will also give you an example of how the proof would look. It's nice to see, what you should expect. So this was actually a remote consultation, and the client lives in Arizona, but her husband was laid to rest at a cemetery here in Massachusetts. And golfing was his life.
Mhm.
He was an instructor. He worked at a golf store. Um, it was important. So on the back of the memorial, we found this design,
Yeah.
and we did the tribute in my favorite tribute font. It's called Zaf.
Mhm.
I just like it because it gives it a little elegance. Um, and I'll show you the front of the memorial as well. This is the type of proof that you can expect, when we move forward and move into the drafting phase.
Okay. Can you use a cursive font for the names and dates, or does it have to
Yep.
be
Nope. We can
be
use
like
any
that? Okay.
font in our catalog.
Okay.
We offer 20 fonts.
Okay.
I don't know if you visited our website and downloaded the catalog, but I can show you how to do that.
Okay.
It's pretty easy to just hop right on our website, Quincy Memorials, and we've got, obviously a lot to look at here.
Mhm.
But right here, you can view and download our 28-page catalog.
Okay.
And many of the things I've been thinking about today, we have included in our 10 most important steps or things to consider when creating the memorial.
Does it cost extra to do a more decorative font, or is it like
The
a certain
included fonts
pricing?
are no extra.
Okay.
We even offer Hebrew, Greek, Russian, Chinese. So, we haven't
Okay.
discussed that, but, we
Okay.
offer quite a few. Any questions about, how the draft will look when you receive it, though?
Um, I don't think so.
Okay.
And then so once we get one of these drawings, if there's something that we want to change, then we have an opportunity to change it.
Absolutely. I usually figure there's going to be one or two. In this case, we first showed her the text at the top, and she said, you know what? Let's move it at the bottom. Nice and
Okay.
easy change. But, it was perfect.
Okay.
This memorial is going to look really nice once it's completed. We've reviewed quite a few things. This is one thing we haven't really touched on, and this is gold paint.
Mhm.
Um, it is no extra cost to do gold paint. Some people prefer what's called a gold leaf, which is a little brighter. That does cost a little extra. One thing to keep in mind whenever you do add paint, because you had mentioned earlier about making the lettering, pop more,
Yeah.
is paint, so eventually it might have to be touched up or something.
Okay.
Um, so if we're looking for a maintenance-free memorial, paint might not be the way to go.
Okay. Do you know how long it usually lasts for?
So I've been here 4 years, and thankfully, I haven't received maybe one call.
Okay.
So that's pretty good. And I'm just looking to see if there's anything else that we haven't explicitly discussed. If you see something here you like, please just shout it out.
Okay.
Um, I do want to see if we have some good examples of hearts, though. Most of the heart memorials that we have tagged either have a heart on them or they're in the shape of a heart.
Okay.
Doing like a little heart, is pretty easy.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, you know what? I think I like that one in the corner there that's kind of like a boulder shape on the
Oh,
bottom.
this right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that is definitely something that can be done in most cemeteries, as long as you stick within the confines of the size, would
Okay.
allow a different shape.
Okay.
And on this one, we can think about, would we add dot here, or do we
Mm,
add dot before the maiden name? I think I might
yeah.
be inclined to add it before the maiden name.
Okay.
Just thinking out
Actually,
loud.
I think I like that better than the other one.
Okay, cool. And we could do some kind of cross design here,
Yeah.
or we could do just a rose or some other flower that is meaningful.
Yeah. I didn't really think about that rough shape, but I think I like that better.
Very good.
Okay.
Um, just looking to see if there's any other. Oh, so, the heart can be like this. It could have a panel on it, and then
Mhm.
we could put something in the panel, or if it's just to indicate, our love, we could leave it just an outline, in very
Mhm.
small.
Okay.
I've often, or not often, I even put, initials in a heart because there was somebody who wasn't going to be memorialized there, but they still wanted to keep in mind that was very
Okay.
close to the loved one.
Okay.
I'm just going to show you a few more, custom shapes, and then hopefully we'll have enough photos that you can take back and share with your family. This is an interesting one I did reproduce recently. Very simple. Believe it or not, that's just one piece of granite, and the top part is just carved and finished to look like it's coming out of something else.
Yeah.
Beautiful, but not really rough shaped, so maybe not what we're looking for.
Either shape that, we end up picking, I do like the rocky edges, I think, better than the polished all the way around.
Sure. And I've been taking notes. I'm trying not to be, writing too much while we're talking, but I have been taking notes while we've been talking. So,
Okay.
we'll be able to refer back to everything we've discussed. And here's an example with kind of both of the things we were thinking, a
Yeah.
unique shape with a cross.
Yeah. So, if we're talking about 3 feet wide, is that the base or the top part that's 3 feet wide?
So three
Where, like,
feet
where are we
here from here.
measuring? Okay.
So the base, and then 3 feet from the very top point to the bottom.
Okay. All right.
Um, we've gone over most of the different things that would be involved. We can get very elaborate if we want.
Yeah.
This is something that we saw at a convention. Um, I'm sure you have had some thoughts while we've been discussing about what you think other family members might like as well, because I'm sure you're trying to think of what everybody's going to want on the memorial.
Yeah. Well, I realized kind of before that I didn't really think of what to put on there for my papa too. So I
Oh yeah.
think that he was in the Navy, so I might want to put something Navy related on there for him too somewhere.
Oh sure.
Um,
If that was important, we could do a medallion. So right here is an example of just a
okay.
medallion we can put between the dates.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we could do that, do the medallion for him and then do a heart in the middle for my grandma instead, that so that it looks kind of like that.
That sounds perfect.
Okay.
If you really like the medallion and, one of these two shapes, what
Yeah.
I'll do is I'll come up with a sketch for you and your family, and I'll
Okay.
send the sketch with the pictures just to
Okay.
kind of give you a visual representation.
Okay. So
And go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead.
No, no,
Um,
you go.
is there a price difference for that type of shape versus like the regular shape that you see? Like that rounded shape?
Yes, it will add a little bit to the cost because it will have
Okay.
to be, shaped by hand to
Okay.
make look appropriate.
Okay.
And I can include that on the sketch that I send to you.
Okay.
So let's just review our photos real quick. I want to make sure that I give you everything that you need to share with your family because I know they're going to have questions for you.
Yeah.
I'll send you this so you can show them what a medallion would look like.
Okay.
Do you like both of these shapes or are you leaning towards one or the other?
Um, I think I like the one on the left, but I feel like I'm getting kind of overly complicated now. I'm like adding a lot of things and then more lettering and stuff like that. So I feel like I might
Yeah,
need to tone it down a little because I don't want to overpower it either.
right. Well, I'll send you
Um,
both then, just so you can
okay.
consider them.
Okay.
This guy, I don't think it helped us very much, right?
Yeah, no, I'm good with that.
Okay. This one, I don't know if we need this particular design. It was just another example, basically.
Okay.
What do you think? Do we need this picture to show everybody?
I don't think so.
Okay. And then here's one we knew we liked.
Yeah, I want to keep that one.
Okay.
Some of the older family members might like the more traditional shape versus
Yeah.
like the rocky shape. So we gotta
Yeah,
keep everybody in mind.
exactly. You get to be the spokesperson, but you still have to make everybody happy, right?
Yeah.
Um, Polished raised lettering. Do we think we need any embellishments like that?
Probably not, I don't think.
Okay. And then did we like this interesting shape? I don't think so, because this is very modern.
No. Yeah, I think I like the two that we already talked about.
Okay. And then this was just another type of design. If a rosary was
Yeah.
important to her, maybe.
Yeah. No, I think that the other ones are good. The other two, I think are really the ones that I'm leaning towards.
Okay. The only thing I would note on this one is that you can have the name on two lines.
Oh
So
yeah, okay, let's
if
include
things
that.
were getting too crowded, we could maybe
Yeah.
put the maiden name behind this little thing here.
Okay, maybe we'll keep that one then just so I can show as an example.
Okay. And then this one just had a unique element, but I don't think we're really
Yeah.
considered.
Yeah, no, I'm good with that.
Okay. So I have these pictures I'm going to save. I'll keep them handy and I'll email them to you with the
Okay.
sketch so you can
Okay.
share everything with your family.
Okay. All right. I think that sounds good. If once we decide, how long does it usually take to get the monument put together and installed in the cemetery?
Sure. Depending on what we end up going with, whether a custom shape or not, we could be looking at 3 to 4 months. We'll do our best to meet any date of importance that you and your family have.
Okay.
Sometimes there's an anniversary date coming up,
Yeah.
uh, an anniversary of a passing or a birthday, or you might already have a family event planned and,
Okay.
people are already coming in out of town that don't usually visit.
Right. Okay. All right. I'll have to ask and find out if there's a certain date. It would kind of, there are only two dates really would be either June for a birthday or November for date of passing. So either one could be fine, if we can't make June, because obviously it's kind of close now, but those might be dates of interest, but it's okay, obviously, if we can't make it. So,
Well, I'll send you this email today. That way you can share it
okay,
with your family immediately.
okay,
And, if I don't hear from you this week, I'll just follow up with you next week.
okay. All right. I think that sounds good.
All right. Well, did you, see what you were hoping to see? I know it's a little different than being in person.
Yeah. No, I think I saw pretty much what I wanted to see. I do like that color. So I think that that's definitely the color, the that grayer one that we looked at. I think that's the color that I want to choose.
Sure.
And then it's really just going to be trying to determine what to write on there and then the shape.
Yes.
Um,
On the sketch, I'll do, a little bit of a shape. I'll do the cross on the side and the names and,
yeah.
give you the best first look at how the memorial could look.
Okay. Since this is going to be for two people, do you think that we should put the other person's name on now, or do you think that we should wait until later?
So that can be a tough question sometimes, depending on how, did you say it was Pop
Papa, yeah.
or Papa? Depending on how Papa's doing, sometimes seeing his name on there might be reassuring. Sometimes he might not like it. If you
Okay.
want, I'll put it on the sketch and
Okay.
then you can just show it to him rather than, bringing up the question.
Okay. All right.
All right, well, we'll break here. I
Okay.
don't see any questions. I don't know if that's a good thing or if I have talked everybody's ear off. I cannot stress how nice it's been to have these memorials tagged. Being able to search Irish themed memorials in green and then have Irish themed memorials come up that are mostly green. Um, it's really nice. I don't know what your experience is, but I would say probably half of people we meet with have an idea of what they want, have an idea of color or design, or they've seen something at the cemetery and they show us a picture. And then you have the other half who maybe have never had to do this, never really thought about it. And, sometimes those consultations can be tough because you're just hoping they give you some clues here and there and gives you something to go on. And it's funny, you may notice that I'm getting all kinds of things that aren't green. I'm not sure why some of these are tagged green, but maybe it's Celtic green, which is a dark, dark green. But this has just been so nice, even in person. We use these memorial examples local in person. I don't know, what platforms you all use, Windows, PC, or Mac. Um, we use a Google Suite and we use Google Photos as well. We're experimenting with that right now, and we're building albums based on colors, design options, ethnicities, all types of things. And what we're hoping to do is kind of create a list of the albums and hyperlinks so we can share them with people on demand. Um, we haven't figured out how to use this, to share with people externally. So we're hoping that the Google Photos will help us with that. One thing that we did notice is when Google made you stream instead of mirror, that we had to save this folder locally on the computer. So this is a folder saved on my desktop. And if it's not saved locally on your computer, the tags may not work properly. So just one pro tip. So I have a USB, and every year when we redo our photos, I go to computers, we install this folder and update it so that people have the most up-to-date catalog of pictures. Do we have any questions in the queue? I didn't see any last time. No? All right. When I wrapped up the meeting, obviously I tried to make sure that we met the client's needs. Um, again, I'm sure most people who are participating today have their way, have how they like to conduct their meetings, whether it be in person or remotely. The biggest thing that helped is having these pictures categorized and making sure the technology works. I mean, come on, we've all been there when the computer's not cooperating for us or for the client. I've had some consultations that it took 10 minutes just to get the client to join. And that's okay. It still went okay. Um, I think it's important to email the pictures to the clients. We save these pictures in an electronic folder. That's one thing we like about the Google Drive suite is we use the Google Drive app so that we can sync all of our clients to the Macintosh Finder. And I can simply save these, just with a couple of keystrokes in that client's electronic folder. So for me, it just helps me stay organized. I might be working with 100 families actively. And while I have a pretty good memory, it's not always that great. So it's nice to have all those folders saved electronically, or all these pictures saved in their folder electronically. The next thing I'll do in this particular consultation is just confirm everything with the cemetery. Obviously, everybody will do that as their routine. The custom shape that Melanie, the client, did like, I might request a schematic from a manufacturer and send that instead of a hand-drawn sketch. It seemed like she really did like that custom shape. So I might simply send that photo to the manufacturer, with a quick sketch that I do with all of the information, and then they'll kick me back a schematic similar to this one right here. So here's an example of a schematic. You know, this one has a special shape. It's going to have an etching of the couple, and it has everything laid out to scale. We might redo the lettering once we receive it from the manufacturer, because sometimes the Roman font they use, we just don't love. But clients, they like seeing schematics. They like, some of them love seeing like all of the measurements because they're visual people. If there's no other questions, you know, I think that's the bulk of it. Anybody have anything they want to just shout out?
I want to add something if I can.
Yeah. And Melanie is our drafter. So one of the reasons I chose her is there's another aspect to this that I know a lot of people are moving toward, and that's doing in-person drafting. Go ahead.
So just to kind of bounce off what you were saying with the pictures and the tags and stuff like that, I don't really do sales anymore. I started here doing sales and order management, so I had that, you know, moving into drafting. But even still now, like, I don't really do sales or meet with customers, but I still use these folders for these pictures pretty much every day, because you know, you might have a customer that comes in that wants a certain flower with a certain cross with a certain this, but you don't have one of those designs put together already to show them in a picture. So, you know, you can use these pictures and say, okay, like that flower with that cross with that, you know, whatever else, and then I use those to piece together to create my design. And then I might make a custom design, you know, for them based off of different components that they have. We do use the Memorial Designer design book as well, and I'll take those designs, you know, based off of example pictures that we've looked at, you know, that we might not be recreating that exact same thing, and use all of those things to piece together something more customized too. So you can use those as references, as, you know, just making that exact design, or you can take bits and pieces of them and put together something new. So even still, you know, if I'm not doing sales, I still use those pictures all the time, for different reasons. And
And
then,
that
you
picture
know,
I showed you was from the catalog.
the golfing one.
Yeah.
I know. I
Right here.
sent that to her the other day. I recognized it.
So when she did mention that, I did bring this up on the consultation.
Yeah.
We looked at it briefly, and then I extracted the pages she liked and sent those in the email follow-up.
We have our one office that does in-sale consultations. They have a clientele there that's a little bit more difficult. Sometimes there are a lot of high-end monuments. They don't want to wait. They want to see their designs right then and there. So she does her in-sale consultation with her drafts, and she's able to close her sales right then and there because she's doing that. In my experience, when I have a customer that's a little bit uncertain, can't decide, is not really sure what they want to do, having the ability to get the computer and do the draft and put something together a little bit more official than a sketch is definitely helpful if you have somebody that's really undecisive. The other thing that can sometimes happen is then you have someone that's sitting in front of you that wants to see every single cross on the draft right then and there, which, you know, you're trying to keep your consultation within an hour, you know, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever your personal time limit is, and you can go down a rabbit hole very quickly with that too. So unless you're super comfortable with controlling that type of scenario and, you know, not letting yourself go down that rabbit hole, drafting during the sale, sometimes for me at least, I definitely get sucked down there. It's hard for me to rein it in, because then I'm like, oh, let me just try this and let me try that. So you know, it just depends on what works for you, and how well you feel like you can control the sale, because, you know, you can either make it go really quick or you can make it take twice as long by doing that. So
Yep. And you know, one thing Brian and I talked about before I came on here was, you know, do you promote doing virtual consultations? Is that something that your business advertises on your website? You know, when you do advertising in funeral home brochures, do you advertise that that's one of your capabilities? again, one of the ones that I worked with recently, you know, she lives in Arizona. We met once. I sent her the photos and the sketch. She said proceed. We, you know, closed it, got payment, and then I sent her the proof, and we only had the one revision, moving the text to the bottom. So it really made the process very simple and easy for someone out of town. And obviously, that's all of our goals, is to make this as easy on people as possible because of the tough time they're going through. And you know, is this something that your business does offer, wants to offer? Um, and you know, in-person design is going to be the next step for our business. You know, I think that that will help us show people in scale, you know, what their memorial will look like. When I do my handwritten sketches, I always tell people I'm not an artist, so you get what you get. And I might just reference the roses from the Kavicki Monument, you know, in my sketch. And most people are okay with that. You know, I think most people understand that you're really doing your best to help honor their loved one. Paul, do you have anything to add?
I will just say, first of all, thank you to Matthew, and also thank you to Melanie for coming here. I know certainly from my perspective, I learned a lot today, obviously not in the memorial industry. As we just kind of wrap things up, I just have a couple last reminders. Again, please complete that survey that will pop up after I close out the meeting. We do appreciate your feedback. If you enjoyed today's webinar, be sure to keep up with us on social media and read your MB brief. The Education Committee is going to have another webinar in June. And also Win MBNA, I know, is having webinars as well. So lots of opportunities for education this summer. With that, that concludes today's session. Thank you for joining us and have a great day.
Thank you for having me.